The only way to gain an abundance mindset is by having a scarcity mindset. You're gonna deal with the scarcity, you're gonna deal with the doubt, but as you go, the abundance proves out. You start to trust it. And as you find that evidence, then you're not tricking your mind into changing, you're actually seeing it and it's changing.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to episode 149 of the 505 podcast. Today we got JB Copeland in the building. Now he has had a meteoric rise on social media. He's amassed a following of over 2 million on TikTok and on Instagram. This was one of my favorites.
We really went introspective. We went deep on this and we really broke through a lot of limiting beliefs that a lot of creators have that hold them back from success.
He gives really practical advice on getting out of your own head and just making this leap to making content, because we all have a voice inside of us. We all know what it is that we need to say. We just kind of need that extra push. So JB, it's the confidence blueprint today. I don't want to hold you guys any longer. Let's get into it. All right, JB, I'm going to show you how to do it right off the rip. That was an incredible score.
That was really good.
That was flawless. I'll show you what not to do. Here we go. On my left.
Oh shit.
You did get it.
But I double dented.
One
popped out.
Oh, that's a crater. Yeah. 2.6. Show me what you got over here. All the way from Dallas, Texas. What do we got, JB? Oh, you shake it up. Whoa. Don't start with your finger on it. Oh, God. Auto 0, JB. You started with your finger on the lid on the table.
Oh.
Cheers, brother, from across.
Hey, if you're not cheating, you're not trying.
Cheers.
All right, JB. So you have amassed over 2 million followers between Instagram and TikTok, which is incredibly impressive. What do you feel like is the reason you've been able to amass such a large following, and what do you feel like is holding people back from doing the same?
I think that's a very loaded question, because I've tried to figure this out. I would say up until the age of 27, I'm 30 now. So April of 2022, I just was not in a very good place, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, professionally, and wasn't connected with, I guess you can just call it the truth within you, your true authenticity, who you're supposed to be, why you're here, why am I here? You know what I mean? I think a lot of people are just numb to that. And the way that I dealt with that from 16 years old on was drugs. I was a huge weed smoker. I'm not saying weed's bad, but weed was kind of my start in high school, and then played college football at a high level, and just I don't know what it was, but I just felt like I was always crawling in my own skin, never felt safe, comfortable within, and used that as a numbing mechanism to feel okay. So after I graduated from college, there's another 5 years where, I'm taking I'm smoking, I'm taking Adderall, I'm taking painkillers, whatever I can get my hands on, the daily cocktail to feel like a normal person. Well, that kind of all came crumbling down. And I'm sharing this because I think it's a part of answering your question. And I had to ask for help, and ended up going to rehab in June of 22. And, that shit wasn't fun at all. But for the first time, it wasn't really about me getting sober. I think we can overhype sobriety, and it's I'm an addict and I'm sober, but really it was I needed to go somewhere to quiet the noise of whatever the fuck I believed, and figure out what I actually believed. And so I got out of rehab. That was a crazy experience where I really got in touch with myself for the first time, and heard myself, and realized that there was some value there. I think a lot of us deal with value issues internally, a lot of inadequacy, especially in men. And I got out in August of 22, and just started scheming in a way, and was all right, I've never really communicated before. I've always kept to myself, but I feel I have like a message within me, something to share. I'm not really sure what it is, but like going through that pain and like getting honest with myself and like the people closest to me, you know, from my wife, for example, we'd been married for 3 years at that point, and like she didn't even know me because I didn't know me. And so the answer is what I think is I got to know myself. And when you get to know yourself, you get to start walking a path that's yours. And so in May of 23, so like 9 months later, I don't know the for sure months, but like 8 or 9 months in May of 23, like actually back it up, in March, like my grandma bought me a Sony FX3. And like I have like zero understanding of how to like use a camera at this point. Like I don't know anything about lighting. I don't know anything about editing, but she just has always been like, you know, your grandma, like slipping you 100s at Christmas and like on your birthday. And she like came through for me when, you know, no one else really was. I was living with my wife's parents. Like we were all in a condo together. Like I was trying to like be a roofer and just trying to figure my life out. But I knew I had something in me. And for the first time ever, I had some clarity on that. Got the camera, kind of just sat on it. Didn't really like, you know, I felt like it was too hard to like grasp. I didn't want to like try and figure it all out and like do the work. And in May, we moved into an apartment, my wife and I, and like, that's where you guys saw like the first year of all my videos was like in an apartment. We got like an extra office room, and like, it kind of started from there. And like, you know, and really it was just like, I can't say why it caught on, but I can tell you that it was real. And I think people gravitate to real, because what I was saying, I meant. And even though like life was like really raw and messy, and it still is, like I knew that there was a path for me because I had finally found my value. So that happens over, you know, from May of 23 to May of 24, you know, I gained 900,000. And then in July, really at the end of last year, I hit 1.3, and it's like slowed down a bit. And I've had to like, I've also had my continual run-ins with inadequacy and trying to figure shit out. And so I'm still trying to figure it out. And so, you know, from another person's point of view, like you amass 2 million followers, how do you have this following like this? And in my head, I'm like, am I fucking up? Like, am I doing this right? Am I handling this right? Like a lot of the insecurity. And so I feel like there's just so much more to hammer away at the inside of me. I think the answer that your followers are looking for, or what you're looking for, is, you know, I want a quick fix. I want to figure out how to get 2 million followers. And the answer is, I don't know how you can do that other than like connect with you. like stop running from the shit that you're running from.
Was there a moment at one of your lows where you said, I need to start taking action? Like, was it a conversation with your wife? Was it something you read? Was it something you listened to? You know, you were in such a tough place. You're turning to substances. You're feeling like you have something to share, but you're not sharing it. And I'm sure so many people feel that exact same way. Like they have a purpose. They find something that they like, and they're not sure where to go next. What was that turning point moment that allowed you to say, I'm just going to be vulnerable on the internet. I'm going to share it. I mean, you have this explosive growth, and I think you're so right, where it's like you got to know you first to be able to share these things and share what it is that you want to talk about. And you like almost have to go through these different things in life to be even able to be comfortable sharing that. Like you give 1 million followers to someone who's not ready to be their authentic selves, and nothing happens, you know? And I totally agree with you in the fact that we're all working on it, because we feel the exact same way. You know, we met a ton of really cool people this weekend at a festival that we went to. And someone's like, you guys are absolutely slaughtering it. You're doing X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, man, I feel like we just started like last week. I feel like every day I learn, the 20 mistakes that I made last month. And I'm like, I feel like that's just a part of the game and a part of learning and growing and like this beautiful game that we're all playing called life. I'm curious, what was that turning point moment?
I'll back it up to like when I was in rehab. It was July 4th, and it was like the first July 4th that me and my wife hadn't been together, like no phone, like straight pity party for JB, like, and they let us have the TV for the day. And I don't know if y'all have seen the show on Amazon Prime with Chris Pratt. It's called the Terminal List. It's so good. You need to watch it. Pretty much it's about a Navy SEAL that loses everything. And so it's me alone in the media room. Everyone else is out having like hot dogs and shit. And like, the 19 other guys I was there with. And I just watched episode 1 through 8. And I was like, damn, I'm being a huge bitch. Like I'm not taking responsibility. I'm not taking accountability. Like I'm trying to like escape this. Like, like some things, like I think art, that's a form of art, like that show, it can inspire you to really take action. So at that point, I didn't know I was going to be starting an Instagram almost a year later. But at that point, like I had to like accept reality for where I was. I think a lot of people want to like skip forward and say like, I got this plan, I have this process, I have it all figured out. But like reality is calling for a different action in the moment. And a lot of times we want to like skip that action and go straight to building the dream within. And for me, luckily, I was locked down. I didn't have a phone. I didn't have a way to get on Instagram. I didn't have a way to call and get a loan and figure, the only action I could take was I'm going to get up on time. I'm going to go first in the group counseling settings. I'm going to work out every day. And like, I'm going to be a fucking badass. That's what I'm going to do. And it was really simple. And, but I think those daily disciplines, I was somewhat forced into it, but I wasn't able to like look forward to like what someday something ought to be built, because like I needed to look inward at what needed to be repaired. And I think that's where people need to start. I think that they're going to find themselves at their lowest point when there's some reparations inside that need to take place before you can build externally what needs to grow. And so for people, I would just say, take your time. That moment helped me dial in some very, very, very simple things. Wake up, meditate, which is what we did every morning there. Do something for your mental health, do something for your emotional health, and work out. Like, get your body right, eat well, go to bed on time. Like, and again, I know that's easier said than done, but like in rehab, it was pretty easy to do because there was nothing fucking else to do. So, that is what like led me on a path of like being able to even get to the point to even know that I had the ability to even make that happen. And then, to answer your question a little bit farther, in March of 23, I was just like, I'm being like a terrible husband. Like my wife's working at this like job and like, I can't fucking sell a roof. And again, me playing victim, and you're going to have those moments. And it's just like, I have to like take control of my destiny. And like, I have to bring action, and I need to act from a place of value and not a place of insecurity. I believe that what's in me needs to be heard. I believe that the art within me is meant to be taken in. Like there is a crowd for me. I feel it within me, but I would have never gotten there if I wouldn't have started with those inner reparations.
What were those initial conversations with yourself like? I feel as though when you're in a deep place, that self-talk can be very negative, and that can affect you in a lot of ways, whether you are realizing it or not. So what were those early conversations with yourself like? And how can someone change that inner dialogue from negative to a more positive one?
Yeah. I definitely like 27 years plus of like very negative dialogue. You have to kind of reteach yourself how to talk to yourself. Um, what really helped me was reparenting little JB and being able to like really connect with him. Um, because that's the inner reparations taking place, is like, there's a little boy in me, there's a little girl, and whoever's watching, there's a little boy and you guys that like some shit happened to, because we live on planet Earth. And he's trying to, or she's trying to like connect with you by sending you these feelings that you are trying to now numb. And if I can just stop numbing and engage and give that little boy attention and like think of it in like a third person point of view. I think sometimes we can be so self-absorbed and so like in the moment that the only thing that can come out of us is negativity, because it's like, why the fuck do I feel this way? Fuck this. Like, any way to escape, let me figure it out. But if you can pull yourself back a bit and say, okay, I am right now who my 4-year-old self or 6-year-old self needs in this moment. And you're able to like bring these two parts of you together and really tell yourself like, look, and these are the conversations that I would have with myself. Number one is like, JB, like, you got it. Like, you're valuable. There's nothing to prove. Like, you're here, you're in rehab, you've taken a lot of drugs and snorted some shit you probably shouldn't have. But like, there's grace for you because, this, and this happened. And like, there's a reason that you were doing it. It's because you didn't feel safe within you. And so there's has to be a compassion that you extend to yourself. Like, if you were a parent and your kid was going through a hard time, you wouldn't bash them. You would affirm them and tell them the truth. And the truth of the matter, if you had a kid, would be, I love you. You're valuable. God, you got some really good DNA. You came from me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you have to like, and so it becomes a practice of reparenting the little boy that believed he wasn't enough, because that turns into the adult that acts like he isn't enough. And so you have to change and take responsibility for those actions and start reparenting that little boy. And so that's what that looked like through those times. And like, it's also how it still looks, because healing isn't linear. This whole thing that we're talking about is not like, in August of 22, I was healed for good. No, like give me a Xan right now. I would fucking love one. Like, you know what I mean? So, like, I'm still dealing with shit, but I know that I'm going deeper and wider and higher. Like, there's growth taking place, but there is constant reflection, constant change, constant evolution, constant affirmation, but also constant negativity that I'm also battling.
When you sort of found the direction that you wanted to go, you're like, I want to share these messages with the world. I want to put myself out there. Did you ever get caught in the comparison trap of seeing other people be successful when you would hit this lower point and you had gotten out of rehab and you get out and people are getting married or getting promoted at your job and you're like, man, I still feel like I'm just figuring this stuff out. What was that inner monologue like at that time?
Oh, dude, comparison and envy, I still feel that shit right now. Like, right now. And so all that is like a belief of inadequacy towards like your path and why you're here. And you don't believe that there's a path for you because you see someone else's path and they're doing it better. And like, they got the business figured out and they have this figured out and it looks like they're rolling. Like, and so that has been an almost 3-year-long battle of just coming back to base. And what I mean by that is like, we're always going to get into a place of comparison. We literally live in a world where things are shown to us when we don't even want them to be shown to us. We're seeing everyone's life. We're watching TV. It's just like, that's the world that we live in. So like at a subconscious level, we're going to feel those things because we're so interconnected with each other. But when I say I have to come back to base, is like when I start feeling that way, it's just like, I believe what my gut says. Like I believe what my intuition says. I believe that like I have my own path. I believe that I have to forge my own path. I'm a pioneer for myself. I'm a pioneer for what I'm supposed to bring to this world. What they're doing is not what I'm doing. Like that person and the path they took, I cannot walk their path because it's not mine. I have to go my way. And so I have to bring myself back to base daily, weekly, sometimes multiple times a day, because we live in an urgent culture that makes you feel like you're behind, and it makes us want to latch on to things and mimic. And so if you're really trying to bring true art and true inspiration, you're going to have to fight the safety of being a mimic. And I'm not saying I've never mimicked. I have. There's been video, you know what I mean? Like there's been times where I see myself and I'm like, that's not you. And I got to evolve and change up.
I think it's something a lot of us as creators struggle with, especially in the beginning days, because you don't have your voice, you don't have your style. So what do? You steal, and then you end up mimicking heavily, and you'll look at something from, I look at the first videos that I put out on YouTube and I'm like so embarrassed by them.
Same.
They're privated, thank God. But
Same.
you look at them and I'm like, who are you trying to be, dude? Like, what is this? And I remember getting roasted heavily in group chats. I deserved a lot of that. I'm like looking back at these. I'm like, dude, these are brutal. Bring back bullying.
I should have been bullied more. Mine were bad.
It's something though that I feel like you have to go through that though. You have to go through that. Putting yourself online is so difficult as it is, and it's like everyone is trying to show up authentic, and you hear that being thrown around. People are like, oh, just be your authentic self. But it's so difficult to put out content on the internet. I think it's anyone that I see that's trying to do it, I applaud, because I think it's one of the hardest things there is to just show up and be our authentic self and not be a character and not pretend to be something that you're not. And
correct.
You know what I mean?
And consistently
like
be day in and day out.
Yeah. It's so hard.
Yeah. I completely agree with you. And one thing I want to make sure I say, so that like true art inspires art. All of us have that person that we looked up to when we started and that we wanted to model, but we can't stay there, if that makes sense. When we start something, of course, we're going to be inspired by someone or something. And I don't think that that's a bad thing. The issue comes when we won't listen to our soul and evolve it because we're comfortable there. And I've had probably 3 or 4 of those moments over a 2-year period of saying like, I have to evolve because I'm trying to be them and I love them. I love what they do, but it's not me. And it's okay to start by being inspired, and it might look a little mimicky, but you're just starting. You got to give yourself grace there. Like I look back on my videos and I'm like, fuck, what the fuck? But I was so proud of it then. And then I look at the evolution and just the constant reflection. As long as we're aware, I think that we can evolve. And so it's okay to be inspired and it's okay to start inspired. But there comes a point where you have to be the inspirer. And I think that that's what sets you apart as a creator, as an artist, because you take that chance even when you feel that comfortability.
Yeah, you take that leap by by putting yourself out there and no longer saying like, okay, you're taking someone's words, I'm changing them just a little bit, I'm rephrasing them. It's like, I'm actually speaking now from the heart. It's a totally different feeling.
How important is having an abundance mentality when it comes to this whole, personal brand, creating content on social media? If you're dealing with a lot of self-doubt and not feeling like you're worthy enough, you're probably not going to feel like you're worthy of someone who can gain 1 million followers because you don't think you deserve to have that large of an audience, because who are you to share your thoughts? So how important is it to have like the abundance mentality, and how can someone reframe their mind to get out of that scarcity mindset of feeling like they're not enough or they're not good enough to see success?
I think it's very important. But the only way to gain an abundance mindset is by having a scarcity mindset. And I think that that's the best news ever, because I think a lot of us have scarcity mindsets. You can't have light without dark. And so you're going to deal with the scarcity. You're going to deal with the doubt. You're going to have faith. You're going to have some hard moments of not knowing if you're going the right way, because there is no path. But as you go, the abundance proves out. You start to trust it. And so you can't, and I can't ask anyone at any moment of time to say, hey, have an abundant mindset right now. Actually, their mindset in the moment is the mindset that they need. It's the mindset that they have. But if they would just give a little bit of hope and ingredients, like bring that ingredients into that mindset they have, they're going to have self-doubt. You're going to not know if you're going the right way. You're going to feel, there's a quote that says, how do I know when I'm on the right path? Is when I'm fucking lost in a forest. You don't know. And so if you don't know if you're on the right path, then you're on the right path. And so the abundance, whatever that is, it's interwoven on your path. It's like little manna that you're picking up on the way. And it's like you build a relationship with abundance as you walk. It's an experience that grows within you as you walk a life of, I would call it faith, or trust in like something bigger that is pulling you towards your purpose. But you're going to start out scared because you've never walked that way before. And so you just have to trust that abundance is on the way. And as you find that evidence of the abundance, then you're not tricking your mind into changing. You're actually seeing it and it's changing. And I think that's what faith is belief in things that I can't see yet. I have this faith, but I'm also really fucking scared.
You're so right on the faith side of things, because I think every person who's listening to this has had moments where you think you've chosen the right path, right? And it's just like, please show me a goddamn sign, and you just have nothing to really hold on to. And I even think back at my own line. If I looked at, like, I came into school, I'm trying to be a vet, and now I make videos, I'm a podcaster. And it's like the line that I thought I was destined to be on 10 years ago couldn't be more scribbled and couldn't have had more turns. And I think you're so right. It is part of having that faith in yourself, that the only thing you really can control is to continue showing up and keep trying to chip away at the thing at that moment that you think is the correct path. Because otherwise you drive yourself absolutely nuts thinking about, man, if I would have turned left instead of right, I'd have this house, or I'd be with this girl, or this is how my life would have turned out. And you just drive yourself absolutely crazy thinking that way.
Our paths, if we don't walk someone else's, and we don't, go, and we all have, that looks different for everyone, is this straight open path. I think if we follow a divine path, that our soul, it's so mysterious because we don't know what's next. It's divinely drawn, scribbled, to teach you everything that you need to know to continue on the path. And so, like, there is no wasted, when you're on the divine path, there is no wasted time. And every side quest that you find yourself in that you're like, fuck, why did I go on this side quest, is a lesson that actually you're going to probably bring it's going to be nice to have handy 6 months down the road when this shit happens. I've made so many decisions that I thought were the worst decisions, and they were, but because I chose to say, like, I'm listening to the tap on the shoulder from the universe or God, like, I'm going this way, that shit has actually been one of the biggest blessings, because they might have fucking sucked, that person or that thing, and they might have screwed me, but the wealth of knowledge and lesson that I took from it and was able to learn, and like, I'm so glad that that didn't work out. It's just unexplainable what someone else's path looks like. A lot of people, they're upset because they feel like they're lost in the woods and they don't know where to go and they feel stuck, when really they've already answered the call of the path untraveled, which is the call of the artist, which is the call of the creator, and I think that's everyone on earth needs to take that call. And being lost is a part of it. And the side quests are a part of it. And the extra time is a part of it. The authentic path is one that takes time. There's delay. There's like, what the fuck? And that's when the negativity creeps back in, the comparison, the envy, the self-doubt, and you have to go back to base over and over and over. And slowly you Lewis and Clark that shit, you know? So I don't know where I am on mine. I don't know what's going to happen next, but like, I've slowly pieced together this thing and I don't know what it means.
There's so much you've said that I want to unpack and get into. I also think with the uncertainty of the path that you're taking comes also the thought of, or the belief of, I'm behind in life. I'm not where I should be at this point in my life. I thought I would be a millionaire by 25 or whatever it may be, whatever you define success as. You have that feeling of like, I'm behind in life. I also think that social media plays a huge role in that. So what would you tell people who feel like they're behind in life? Maybe they pursued a certain path and, it took them 4 or 5 years and realize it's not for them and it feels like time wasted, and now they're starting from, or what feels like they're starting from ground zero. Or maybe, like they got in a relationship and it wasn't the right relationship for them and they feel like they wasted all that time in that relationship, and now they, broke up with their partner and now they're single, feeling like they're starting over again, behind in life compared to maybe some friends who are, married with kids. What would you tell people who feel behind in life?
Welcome to the fucking club. Like, if you feel behind in life, there's a high chance that you're on the right path. I truly believe it, because like I said, there is duality in this, and you're still working with this humanness aspect of the self-doubt and the lack of value. And it's this civil war that takes place. And so if you feel like you're behind, and you might've fucked up and this happened in this situation, like at any moment you can say, I choose the authentic path, and everything that has happened magically, it's like it magically all makes sense as you continue to walk. You realize that there were no mistakes. If I wouldn't have snorted fucking oxys, I don't know if I would be me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if I went through that shit, and I'm glad I wouldn't take it back. Luckily, I didn't die or anything, but like, I wouldn't take back rehab. I wouldn't take back, failed relationships. I wouldn't take back the experiences, because they made me. And now that I've chosen to go the way that we're talking, the path less traveled, yeah, sometimes those things haunt me, but actually, like, if I wouldn't have gone through them, I wouldn't be me. And so if people feel behind, it's probably proof that they're on the authentic path, because a lot of the world is not.
Especially, I think, as well, in this creator landscape and in this creator world. Like, I didn't try to get a job when school was ending. Like, I was finishing up school. I remember being in this advertising class, and it was like an elite group of kids at Oregon. and everyone's getting sick jobs. You got people working at Apple, they're working at Wieden and Kennedy, 72 and Sunny, Deutsch, like all these humongous agencies, they're getting big salary jobs. And I'm like, man, I really want to start a company. Me being this like entrepreneurial person, I'm like, I'm going to start a company. My salary is going to be like net negative to start off. And you have to remind yourself on this journey that others are going to look like they're doing a lot better than you, but there could be this period of time where you explode because you've put in these 5, 7, 10 years of effort chipping away at those diamonds. And finally you see a little bit of success where at a traditional job, or, you know, it's usually more linear, like your pay structure is so much more linear. And you got to remind yourself that if you're on this path of trying to be a content creator, trying to start an agency that's in this space, that it's not anywhere. There's no like book that tells you, hey, this is how you're going to start off making 60,000. You're going to jump to 80 at year 2, and year 3 you'll be at 150, and so on. And I think that's a great reminder. Like what everything that you're saying is, it's like all part of teaching you all these different little lessons that eventually, when you're ready for it, God or the universe or your faith in it, it reveals itself to you, you know, and you're able to take all of these teachings and actually put them into practice.
I also feel like there is no benefit in dwelling on the past. Like nothing positive comes out of dwelling on those thoughts of I'm behind in life, I should be further. Like for me personally, I pursued being a DJ for 2 years after I graduated college.
Use it every day.
What?
You use those skills every day.
Oh yeah, every day, dude. You should hear the tunes that I'm bumping in this 505. But, you know, I have, honestly, like I have dealt with the, what if I went all in on the photo video stuff and content and didn't spend 2 whole years of my life trying to do this DJ thing that didn't end up working out? But there's no benefit that comes out of that. And also, that part of my life is ingrained in me. It's part of like who I am now. It's part of my story.
Yes, I love that. I haven't taken ayahuasca before, and I probably never will, but there's a guy that I know that is a big ayahuasca dude. And he always tells me, he goes, bro, everything's perfect. And like, I know it's funny, but like, if we truly believe that we're here for a reason and we're on this path, I mean, there's some shitty things that happen, and there's some things that we go through, and there's some people we lose. But maybe in the grand scheme of things, like, you were supposed to try and be a DJ for 2 years. That's what I was saying. Maybe was supposed to go to rehab for 3 months. Like, everything is perfect and everything will be perfect. It's like, can I stop worrying so much? One of my favorite quotes is like, you can't lead the symphony unless you turn your back on the crowd. And that sounds a lot like what you did leaving Oregon. And everyone's doing this, and this. And it's like, I have a dream within me. I have something I know that I'm supposed to do more. And you had to turn your back on the crowd to lead your own symphony. What one day will be something that people show up and listen to. It's how you orchestrate it. And so it's like, it feels lonely. Like, it feels lonely to begin living. And I don't think them taking those 9-to-5 jobs are a bad thing. Maybe totally that's agree. For them.
Yeah.
You know, totally. Maybe there's just certain people that are chosen to go this way. I don't know. But we're kindred spirits. I'm sure the people that watch this podcast are kindred spirits and understand that, like, there is this deeper calling to create and make and become something. And I don't know what else yet, but it starts out very lonely. And I think that's why these conversations are so important, is because when someone doesn't feel alone in what they're feeling, they feel then connected to something a bit bigger. And I think that that's what you guys are bringing to the table with your podcast, is like, it's for the creators that like feel lost in a fucking forest, that don't know where to go, but letting them know that they're in the perfect space. They're in the perfect spot. They're right where they need to be. It's literally all just like one tiny moment away of all coming together and clicking and making sense.
Did you ever let the opinions of others creep in throughout that initial entryway into this career path?
Yes.
What did
Like,
that look like?
yeah, a lot of friends from like high school and college like unfollowed me. Um, Even like family members were weird, you know, like because they knew me for being a fucking, drug addict, you know, and so when you change your life, you got to believe that you've changed. You got to believe that you're choosing a different path, and like, yeah, like it hurt to not feel supported. But what does it say? Like, a prophet is not welcome in his hometown. And I'm not saying I'm a prophet, but like a creator is not welcome in their hometown. It's a weird thing.
That's something though that I feel like people that leave their hometowns or like go and do something else, right? The people that had met you in high school or in college, if you were a specific way person, like I feel like I've lived 10 lives since high school, they're
Yeah.
always going to see you as said person that they met at that time period or however you were personality wise at that time period. And I feel like to truly grow and to truly evolve, you have to take that bet on yourself and move out of your city, move out of your smaller town, and go somewhere where you can just be who you want to be and kind of follow that path that you feel like you're destined to be on. I feel like you've probably talked to someone from high school or from college or something, and like, what you're doing now is just totally different. It's like, yeah, that was the part of the plan. That was part of the plan, is to like totally go on this different route than I was heading on. Like I didn't like or maybe you didn't like the person that you were becoming at said time period. And
Yeah.
I feel like that's hard for a lot of people to grasp onto, of like, oh, they've changed, and
Yeah,
that
it
is
is.
the reality of what ends up happening.
Yeah. I think that that's the beauty of it, because there is a season of feeling alone in your choice to turn your back. And it's not even like you're turning your back in a dickhead way. It's just like, yo, I'm just trying to like follow my soul. But like, I'm not doing what you think I need to be doing. Or like I'm not doing what you expected me to do. And like, maybe that makes you feel uncomfortable, or like, I don't know. But what happens, and that self-doubt does creep in. Mel Robbins, like literally May of 2023, she dropped a video, Mel Robbins. She was like, my social media is not for my friends and family. She literally said it. My social media is not for my friends and family. It is for the people I was put on this earth to reach. And that really helped me, just to like keep being cringy, I guess. That was how I felt, was cringy. Like, I know what they're thinking. And yeah, I might have amassed some unfollowers, and like people might have things to say about JB at 18 years old or whatever. And like, did some stupid shit. I will say that. So like, I'm not, cancel me. But like, the amount of people from high school that have also reached out, family members that have reached out and said, yo, bro, like, this video right here, like, really helped me get through this. People that you wouldn't think that, you hadn't thought of, and you start to see, it just doesn't fucking matter what they say. Not because, they don't matter, but their opinion can't matter to you. It might, ruffle your feathers a little bit, but I think that's normal. I think that's a normal feeling as you are chasing your dreams. But these are all things that must be wrestled with, or you can't continue going. And so like, all of these things that we're bringing up, feeling lonely, the opinions of others, feeling lost, like, it's a part, like, it's a lesson. Like, we have to experience that feeling to find resolve within it. And each thing of lack that we feel, whether it's lonely, what that's doing is then asking us subconsciously to fill that void. And so like, when I felt like I didn't have anyone, like I didn't have a man in my life that was telling me what to do, and this is where I should invest my money, and this is how I should start my business, I had to become that man for me. I might not be perfect, but like, that lack actually was the miracle grow for the abundance, which was confidence in me in an area where I lacked because it became so real. And so these moments of lack and these feelings of lonely, all they are is miracle grow, to be able to grow within you what you're missing. It's just I'm going to raise my hand here. In this part of me, I need to fulfill this void. I feel really lonely and no one's got my back. You know what I mean?
100% know what you mean. How do you build confidence? If there's someone out there right now feels like their confidence is shattered, they're not a confident person, what would be your message to them to build confidence? I'm
still trying to like figure that out, honestly. Like, I have days of self-doubt. I have days of confidence. I have moments of confidence. I think the most honest answer I can give you is to go with your gut and watch it play out. And there's going to be times that you go with your gut and you're watching it play out and you literally want to shoot yourself in the foot. But as it continues to play out, it's just like the abundance on the trail. Your confidence will be built as you continue to go with your heart. I don't know if confidence is just something that can be magically appear. It's this, again, evidence of trust within yourself. And so at this time, 2023, I wasn't very confident of this, and this. And now I'm way more confident in my ability to think through this, and this, because I went through it. And so the way that you gain confidence is by doing things out of a lack of confidence.
You bring up such a good point. It's evidence-based. You have to create evidence for yourself and keep promises to yourself. If you say that you're going to go to the gym and you don't go to the gym, you're not keeping that promise to yourself. And so then you're not going to be, that leads to not having confidence, because I feel like confidence, like true confidence, comes from within. Like it can't come from an external thing. It comes from inside yourself. And so if you can stack wins and proof for doing what you said you were going to be doing, that's how you build confidence within yourself. It's with the gym, eating healthy, creating content, and the more tally points you can put in the form of like positive affirmations and building that evidence, I feel like that's how you create confidence for yourself.
Completely agree.
How do you balance the pressure of trying to grow as a creative while also being authentic at the same time?
I think that there's moments of tension for every creator that they have to just like walk through, where there has to be like some type of surrender to the outcome. It's either I'm gonna fall to this tension and I'm going to not be authentic, or I'm going to be authentic and I'm going to trust in the outcome. And I'm in a place like that right now. Like, obviously I have goals to be here, and I'm here in my head. The way that I really get out of that tension is gratitude, is celebrating how far we've come. Like celebrating that 5K, celebrating that 10K, like it's a big deal. It's a really big deal. And I wish I would have done more of that. I wish on the way I would have been a bit more in tune and a bit more grateful for me and for God or the universe or whatever was happening. Like, I think I posted a video today, but I said, taking a time to pause and celebrate your progress creates more progress. Gratitude is the ingredient that helps you grow. And it's really hard to find gratitude in a world of comparison and envy. It takes, daily reflection. It takes becoming grounded. It takes thought. It takes intention. And it's finding that gratitude for yourself and where you're at, and not trying to, again, please the people. again, you have to turn your back on the crowd to lead the symphony. And so you have to keep your why in mind. Like, why did I do this? Why did I start? And it's about the art piece. It's about the symphony that you're building, and you're adding more and more and more. And so a lot of times we want to turn and look at the crowd. And like, I think that's okay sometimes, but like, turn and look at them and thank them, turn and look at them and have gratitude that they would even like show up. I think that's the healthiest mindset that I've learned to this point, because you can get into this rat race of more. And again, the authentic path takes time.
It sounds like we're all in the same boat of we have big goals. We want to be successful. We want to achieve big things. And in process of doing that, I think that every time I've hit a goal, whether it be a number in my bank account, a number of savings, a follower account, you move the goalpost like within the 5-minute period. You're like, cool, we hit it. This is the new goal now. It's this number. It's this many people liking a post or whatever that thing is. And it's such a dangerous game, because you never like check in with yourself and say like, how are you feeling? Is this the route that we want to continue to go down? Like, is this what we're really after? And I think every creator is lying if you don't say that, you hit a number, or you hit a like count or a subscriber count or a view on a video that doesn't give you slight excitement for that period of time. Like when you see on YouTube that it says 1 out of 10, like we high five and we celebrate. And it's like, these platforms have almost trained our brains for this validation that is so hard to continue to chase. Like when, if we post a podcast or we post, a reel or whatever, and it absolutely bombs, which is totally normal.
More days than not.
It's so normal. You get upset about it. We're pissed off. We're like, damn, we fucked up this week. What did we do wrong? What was wrong with our packaging? Like, what did we do bad? Are we washed? Like, all those things are kind of running through your head.
Braden, lock the balcony door, because I'm about to fucking jump off that bitch.
It's a difficult game that we're playing, right? Is making content online, because so much of what you do you train your brain to say like, yo, I just post this because I enjoyed posting it. But then if you zoom out slightly, it's like, damn, this thing bombed. If we did that 5 more times, do brands not want to partner with us? Does that affect a pillar of the revenue of the business if we continue to do this? And you can slip back into a really dark place quickly by playing that game with yourself. And I feel like you got to remind yourself that it's so out of your control. Like, we have no idea how. We think we know what's going on. We've been doing it for over 10 years. We think we know it's going to work. But you quickly get into a situation where you're going to zero rather than continuing to just be yourself and be authentic. And it's such a delicate balance between trying to gamify what you're doing and get better at it, and also trying to keep yourself sane to have longevity in this career path, whether you're creating content for brands or creating, social content or podcasting or whatever that may be. I'm curious just to hear your take on that.
And I think it starts with us giving ourselves a ton of grace, because the creators and artists of old, Picasso, all of these people that we know about now were not really known when they were alive. You hear about the tortured artist. You hear about the poor artist. We live in a completely different world, brand new to the human species, as of like the year 2000, really as of like the year 2014. And so the artist is having to become also a businessman or a businesswoman. And those worlds collide. And I think, you have to keep in check both sides of you. I think that there is a duality to it, because I'm not going to live my life poor. Like I'm going to provide for my wife. I'm going to provide for my future kids, and I'm going to live a good life because I deserve it. But at the same time, I have to be authentic. And so there's experimentation of what that looks like as you go. And you have to be gracious with yourself, because we're the first ever humans in the world. Maybe there's another Earth somewhere, but like that has had to deal and hold these two realities at once. And so being on like the tip top of evolution of this and how it's done is where you guys are at, is where I'm at. We are literally pioneering how this is done in an artistic way where it keeps its realness. And that means we're going to fuck up because the whole world sees our business because that's just how it is. Our whole world is public. Our business is public. Our mistakes are public. Our wins are public. And so there has to be a huge amount of grace given to yourself in knowing that, like, if you fuck up, you fuck up. Tomorrow's a new day. People have very short memory, very short. I think the algorithm has short memory too, unless you're, doing really stupid shit on there, like, which you don't do, So like, I'm just saying, I get what you're saying and like the algorithm and trying to like grow it. And there has to be a bit of both. It's salt and pepper, bro. Because there has to be strategy, but there also has to be realness. And I think the way that you make that work is getting back down to your intention. Is my intention to bring goodness? Or is it to be destructive? I know that both of you have good intentions. Your intention is to bring a feeling, is to inspire. So why is it bad that you have strategy? It's not. It's actually a great thing that you have strategy because the people that are destructive have a shit ton of strategy. And so that's been the issue with good versus evil and creative versus, bot, is the bots are strategic as fuck. And the artist is not. Because we're so worried about being so, and I've had like my own run-ins with this of like, I can't do that but really that just came from me worrying about too much of what people said. It really wasn't me trying to stay true to myself. It was me being insecure of what people would think. And so the artist now is a hybrid. We're a different beast. We're like Jason Bourne, bro. Like we have like things that we have to hold to move ourselves forward in the world that we live in. And it's okay to fuck up, but it's also okay to have strategy as long as your intention is right.
Yeah, I also think that if you're a true artist, the business side typically doesn't come very easily, and it's a skill that needs to be learned. But the beauty of it, honestly, is with so much content out there, it's a lot easier to learn how to like monetize your art. And I don't think that it should be, deemed a negative thing or looked down upon, because I don't think art needs to be considered art only if you like don't profit off of it. I don't think there's anything wrong with like living a good life and making a good living off of your art, whatever that may be. You know what I'm saying? Like content, painting, like whatever your art is. I don't think there's anything wrong with profiting off of it. So I'm glad you brought that up. But yeah, I would also say that it's never been easier to learn the other side. Whether you're more business minded, you can learn, how to make videos a lot easier on YouTube, and you can also learn from somebody like Alex Hormozy or Gary Vee on like how to monetize the content that you're making.
I think since the beginning of time, like the artist is truly what brings revolution to a world. The artist. And the artist throughout time has been pushed in a corner and said, thank you so much for your art. It looks really good. And the powers to be, I could name a few names, but I'm not going to. We all know, we have some clue, an inkling that control, whatever control is over the human population, has their hands on people's lives because because we're sheep. And the artist has a completely different outlook. We're revolutionary. We're trying to bring and insert a feeling. We're trying to inspire. We're trying to motivate. We're trying to help. And control doesn't like that shit. They want to make you feel weird for monetizing your art. They want to make you feel, selfish or that's not real art. Fuck control. And so we're reimagining what it means to be an artist, because we're actually, again, Lewis and Clark. We are the explorers. We are the pioneers of this generation. And going into the next generation, what we're doing, what you guys are doing, what I'm doing, it's very important. And maybe I'm just like, maybe I just think too much of it. But I believe what we're doing is really important to where the world goes. And our voices matter. And in 100 years, in the history books, we're going to be mentioned because we brought revolution and we unified with intentions and a spirit of freedom, which is what art is. And so freedom comes with a price. And like, we have to make money if we're going to go up against control, whoever that is. And like, we're not scared of control, but like, we can't get into this pity party of like, oh, poor artist. No, like, we have to become smart, and we have to learn our lessons, and we have to evolve and become an artist business person that understands how this plays.
There's room for all artists, I think, to have a fair slice of the pie and live well, live comfortably, be able to provide for your family. And I feel like for some reason that notion of, I'm trying to make money, I'm trying to get, I'm trying to be financially stable and successful. For some reason, some people think that's bad. And I think that's just fucking crazy, because
fuck those people.
You gotta be able to want to provide, that. I was thinking about that the other day. Like, that is for sure one of my biggest motivators of all time, is to be able to provide for my family and for a future generation. Hopefully that idiot under me doesn't fuck this up, because I've worked so hard, and I'm going to be working so hard to like maintain that, but it's like, I think that in our society, for some reason, people think that is a crazy thought, is to want to be financially free. I think Tom Noski talked about this on a pod that we did with him, and he was saying how he's like, I'm open about wanting to be wealthy. Like, I want to be able to own a nice car. I want to be able to have a nice home that I can call my own, and be financially free and not have to work eventually anymore, and be able to just enjoy life and experience it and travel and eat great food. And I think everyone should want that. I find it fucking crazy that people don't want that.
Yeah, we here on the 505 podcast love money. And success,
The people
but we want everyone to be successful, and I think they can. I think that I think there's room for every single artist out there to have their slice of the pie. Like, there's a customer out there for everybody.
At the end of the day, artists deserve to get paid. It's our craft.
Yeah.
It's what we do. It's what we're bringing to this world. And it's not like we're being, unrealistic. I mean, some people are very unrealistic with pricing, which is like, probably, why is this fucking like banana taped to a wall 20 grand? Like, you know what I mean? So, but I completely agree with you. It's like, it's okay to feel that way. And it's okay to feel like you deserve, if you put in the effort and your intentions are good, it's okay to feel like you deserve to be paid and to attract financial gain. And like, I've had a really, really hard time with that over the last year and a half, because I didn't want to sell my audience. And again, like, looking back, it came from a huge place, intentions of insecurity. I was insecure because I didn't know what they would think. And again, getting caught up in that mindset of, I'm a martyr. I'm the poor artist that, like, I'm just here. No, like, I think all of us have a way to monetize in a way based off of like our pure intentions that actually can help and bring life to a world that is a bit lifeless right now. And so I think that's the cool thing, is because we are the generation that is figuring out how to mix real, pure art with sales and money. It's not because our intention is to get rich. Our intention is to influence and to help and to inspire. And I think if that stays at the precipice of your intentions, I think the money will come if you're smart and learn to strategize. I'm still learning it.
Totally. I think those creators out there that are providing so much value with their content, I hope they're as wealthy as they possibly can be, because I've learned so much from
Same.
so many of these business creators out there, from reading their books to listening to their podcasts to learning about how they sell different things. It's like, I hope they have everything and more than they could ever imagine, because what they've been able to transform in my life and my business, it's like monumental without so many of these random people I've never met on YouTube, which is crazy.
Exactly.
Like, I feel like if you dig hard enough and you find the right people that are giving good enough information away, like, you don't need to go to business school to start a business in 2025. You need to just listen
Who are
to
those?
the correct.
Who are those people for you?
For
just
me,
wanna know.
I think some of the best people on YouTube that I've found. I think Alex Ramosi gives off some of the best advice ever. I think Dyer Vecchio, Stephen Bartlett has some of the most transformative people in business. I believe it's My First Million. I think they have some awesome people on there.
Chris Do.
Chris Do is someone from like the more creative agency standpoint that has given me so much free advice. And you go down a rabbit hole from learning from people that have taught him stuff. Like Ronald Baker is a guy that's more low key. I have his book. It was really expensive. It was like a textbook. It was like $150 for this book. And like some of the things in this book, I'm like, this has made me tens of thousands of dollars from this $100 book that I bought. You know, those different people they deserve everything coming to them and 10 times more for sharing that information, because it's like these mentors that they have bestow upon them this information. And like, we've had mentors for us, or people that I've paid to ask questions to. And I'm like, this is advice that I'd only get if I messed this up like 27 different times and spent like 3 years on a path that probably wasn't, like, I wasn't doing the correct things for the business. And you get to learn it in a span of like an hour, you know, and it's
Exactly.
from listening to them, you know, bestow their wisdom. And like, dude, that's never been a thing. Like you're saying, that's never been possible besides right
Ever.
now. I mean, we're at a golden
Yes.
age of information, especially with the emergence of AI and everything that you're able to ask and learn about within the span of like 1 second. It's at our fingertips. It's so crazy.
It's insane. It's insane. And it's cool because, you know, you're naming off those people, and probably what we don't know and what you don't know is that like people are naming off you guys. Like the 505 podcast helped me. Like this is, you know what I mean? And so like you're passing the torch, and like what you're doing right now echoes. I love Gladiator. It echoes in eternity. Like what you're doing right now, this podcast, the podcasts that you've done, like all of my creative buddies are like, dude, you're going on 505. Like, that's sick. I love those guys. And so like, I just want to encourage you guys, like, y'all are killing it already, and like, just keep going. And I know it's hard to like get out of the microscopic vision of like being in the business and trying to figure it out, but like you're making waves, and you know what I mean? And so keep going.
Thank you.
Yeah, seriously, thank you. I think that you're so right. It's hard when you're in it to kind of see like where that train or where the plane is heading to, and you're in the trenches of it. You're doing all the little things day by day to try to get get better and just learn from
Yes.
it. So we really appreciate that a lot. It's super kind.
Yeah, this past weekend we also went to our buddy Sam Newton's film festival, and we had a few people come up to us and echoed like similar thoughts and told us like, oh, love the podcast. Like you guys have helped us a lot, or helped me a lot. And it's one thing to read a message on a DM over a phone screen. It's another to like have someone in person come up to you and share their thoughts about you and their feelings of how much you've helped them. And it's awesome. And I feel like you need those small reminders of like, oh, what we're doing is reaching people and having an effect on somebody's life. It's just, I remember like that night, me and Braden were texting and being like, we got to keep going. Like, it's an awesome reminder, and it can get lost in the everyday of like, okay, this week we got to do another podcast. Like, and so it's really cool to hear you share that, and also just like meet people in person and hear that we are having an impact, because it's fucking awesome.
You are. And the coolest part about it, and for me too, is internally, again, you probably feel like, am I going the right way?
Yeah.
And that is proof in itself that you're on the right path, because you're inspiring as you're pioneering. I think that that takes a lot of guts.
It's an exciting time period that we're in. And I think that also just looking at the stuff that you're sharing, people are sharing it so much, which means that it resonates. And it means that these things that you're saying, just to your camera in your room, to your grandma, the camera your grandma got you, is reaching so many different people and having such an impact. And it's tough though, like when you're in it, because you don't know, like you see a number, it got 5,000 shares, but it's just a number on a screen. I can't even think about 5,000 people in a room, how daunting that would be to walk up and say, hey, my name is B Fig. That would be traumatizing, to the thought of that many people in a room, and to think that, your content is having that much of an impact. Another thing I wanted to bring up on the topic of content creation, because a lot of people that do watch this show, they might use a camera or, in some aspect, their videos tend to be a little bit quicker. And when I was really watching a lot of your videos, I noticed there's not tons of cuts. You are really just speaking your truth into the camera. And I think from an outsider, it's why it's resonating so much, because it's just you. It's like you're not hiding behind a fancy edit. You're not hiding behind tons of crazy B-roll. It's like you're really just sharing your message to the world, and people are really connecting with it. And I want to know, how do you think people can share their message with the world if they're not doing it right this second? Like, how do you train that muscle to be able to do that and have an impact?
First off, thank you. I appreciate that. But this is going to be hard to explain, but I think that everyone knows exactly how they're supposed to share their message. It just feels like not something maybe the algorithm is going to tend to. Like, I would love to hide behind cuts, and like that, I started that way, like hiding behind cuts and different angles to be able to like sit and, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but there becomes this confidence and this calling to be a bit different in the way that you share. And I think every creator has a vision that's probably unique to themselves that they're trying to figure out how to bring to life. And like, they don't know how to get there. Like, and it just takes little steps of, okay, I'm going to set a camera up and I'm on my couch. That's what happened. May of 2023. I'm going to set a camera up. I'm on my couch. I'm going to put on headphones and start talking. I don't know how to do lighting. September of 2023, I'm going to move to this wall and I'm going to like put a little table back there and I'm going to like put a piece of art and then put a little plant, and see how that goes. December of 2023, I think I need a gallery wall. I think if we like put this thing together, that's like that people know that they know the place, I think that'd be really cool. Made a gallery wall, and then, we move and get another house and remake a gallery wall. And then, we created what's called Sappy House, which is like this whole area out here, which is, 3 different rooms that will be brought to the world through podcast form. And so it's just like starting simple. It's starting with what you have. It's starting with what you understand. It's progress over perfection. Every single time you will evolve as you make progress. And it is, it might be you're on the couch, it might be you're on a walk. It might be you're at the gym, and you have this feeling of what it's gonna be, but it's not, there's no way to create that at the moment. Like, if we're being honest, I didn't know how to do all that. And I didn't have the money for the furniture and an art wall at that time. Like, I had a camera and a mic. And so the way that you end up creating over time is it evolves into it because you let yourself begin somewhere. And I think that that's the most beautiful thing, is like just letting yourself begin. Now you can start right now.
I echo everything that you're saying. And It's funny to think back. You just brought back a memory, like during COVID. I had came home from school. I'm living at my mom's house. I have really like no money saved at all. And I remember I'm like, I'm gonna start making TikToks about like this industry and this business that I want to start or get into. And I'm in my mom's bathroom with an iPhone with a crappy little ring light from Amazon, and it's so echoey. The lighting is like orange. It looks horrendous. There's like a bright white light, and then it just looked so terrible. And we started though messy, just like you're saying. We just started one foot in front of the other, trying to figure it out. And through those TikToks, I was able to talk to so many awesome people that were trying to do similar things. And it's crazy the community that started because of those horrible videos in my head that I could barely stand to even look at today. But that's what started all of this stuff that now, like why I'm doing what I'm doing, because of those original horrible videos in my mom's bathroom.
I also think like the perfectionism is what stops a lot of people from starting in the first place, because they think it needs to be a certain way from the get. And I do believe that you should have, a certain level of expectation and production. Definitely elevates content. But if you're waiting for it to be perfect, you'll never start, because it truly is never going to be perfect. And what you think is perfect, your idea of perfect in that moment, is not going to be even close to perfect. It's going to be almost like your starting point. I look at videos 3-4 years ago, and I'm like, what I thought was a really fucking good video then, I look now and I cringe at it. I'm like, this is trash. So I think, yeah, you're right. It's like you take the first step, don't let perfect get in the way of starting, and you make progress as you go.
Yeah, and I'm a big believer in this, is that if there's a dream within you, you have everything that you need to do it and start it right now. Like, there's a dream within you, the beginning of the path is carved for you to start, right? Like, go walk into the fucking woods. Like, it's time. And I would put that, if I could go person to person and they could tell me their situation, a lot of them will be probably solely focused on their problems rather than the solutions that they have right now to follow that dream. And it is messy. It's messy to go and explore. It's messy to step into the mud. But so like, you got to be good, like with what you said, the mess. Everything that anyone needs to start what they need right now, they have, and they can. And I don't know what that looks like for them, but I think might just be how it works.
Now, what would you tell someone who feels like they don't have something unique to share?
I would say you're full of shit, because like, no one has their unique experience. Like, I've not experienced your lives. I've not experienced the pains. I've not experienced, the high days, the low days. I haven't experienced the loss. I haven't experienced the grief. We live a life of uniqueness down to like our fingerprint. We're all together, but each of us do have a message within us that we're here to share in our own way. And I would say that they're full of shit, because it's just a cop out, because we're unique. We're different.
I know you've had the privilege of being able to help people start their personal brands and get them to a place where they feel comfortable talking on camera. They're crushing it with what they're doing. What have been a few common pitfalls, either from a mindset standpoint, or it could be more tactical, more technical? What are you noticing people making mistakes with that you've been able to chat with?
I had a creative business, and took on clients and things. By the end of it, my message to people calling me was like, everything that you need is within you. Like, everything that you need is within you. Some people are going to sometimes need a videographer and an editor. If you can afford it, get it, but the answers that they're coming to me for and the answers that they're looking for, they already have the answer. It's just, they don't want to dig. And so that became my role in these clients' lives was, you know, the answer. Like, I'm going to need you to do some inner digging. Kind of like I said, like they're trying to launch something, and you know, what the universe is asking is for them to have an epiphany and these humble beginnings and start their selves. And so it's hard to answer that because like a lot of people dealt with perfectionism. They want to be perfect. They wanted me to tell them what to say. They wanted me to design the room. They wanted me to pick their fonts. They wanted me to add the color. They wanted me to make sure make sure you have a chair like yours, and make sure that you add in the graphics after to make sure that people like, we can put a cherry on top. And I started to realize like I'm not being honest with the customer. And I'm doing them a disservice because I'm making them think that they need me, and they don't. And I think that that's the truth in all of this, especially when it comes to creators, especially when it comes to us, is we feel like we need this external help, and we need this. And in some instances we do, but to start something and birth something, a personal brand, if this is what you want to call it, I call it a calling, a purpose, a reason I'm here. It has to start with you in the mirror. And so I could talk with a ton of different clients and have the same conversation in a different way. And the issue was that they hadn't faced the noise. They hadn't faced the truth of, why are you here? Hey, there's some things in you right now that like you got to face. Because I'm not going to write this shit for you, And so I think that that's my biggest thing is like, I said it before, everything that you need, you have. And like, you are self-sufficient. And that was my biggest learning point. I mean, I could make a client think that they're not self-sufficient so that they can continue to pay me. But when you get close to people and you start understanding them, like some people are going to want tailored, cool work for like big brands. But like when it comes to a personal brand and you wanting to step out and be your own person, you got to be self-sufficient. We're on here on this podcast. You guys have a ton of videos. Like, go learn YouTube University. Like, figure it out. Like, we can help you. We're going to help you. We'll be a backboard. But like, I can't give you the message that you're looking for. Only you are the secret ingredient that you're looking for. And I think that was the switch on for a lot of the clients, was like, oh shit, like I'm looking outward when I need to be looking inward. I am the ingredient I'm looking for. And that's just, it goes back to this whole conversation and what we've been talking about from the very get. You're self-sufficient, and you can have confidence and take that leap of faith to choose that path.
I feel like that's a really powerful truth, because once you realize that you do have everything that you need, there's nothing really stopping you. And that quote is part of, I pulled a few of the captions that you've put for some of your Instagram posts, and I wanted to go through them, but that was part of one. The part of that same caption, you said, "This storm is here to cleanse you, not destroy you." And I love that. And I want to dive into that, because when you are going through the storm and things are hard, it's hard to find the belief that things will get better. And it's easy to play the blame game when you are in the storm, because you start pointing fingers, or you have the victim mentality of like, why is this happening to me right now? A quote that I heard Tom Hanks say once that has stuck with me forever is, "This too shall pass." And I love that, and it's helped me when I've been in like my darkest of moments and going through that storm. It's like, you will get through this. Like, this too shall pass. The storm will pass, and I would just love to hear your thoughts, and if you could elaborate on that. This storm is here to cleanse you, not destroy you.
If your efforts are there and your intentions are pure, which as an artist they usually are, we can like get off a little bit, but like we can come back to center. Like at a molecular level, our intentions are pure. If like we are on the right path, which we've already explained what that feels like, it feels like you're not on the right path. I like to call it the good storm. And the good storm comes to town and you're like, fuck, like, damn it. Like you hear the thunder, you can hear the lightning. Like looks like it's destroying everything in its path. And, it's kind of like a fictional story I wrote, but it's funny. This hasn't come out yet, but it's a story that I wrote in this book that's coming out. And, pretty much like the premise behind it is like, the storm is not here to damage or kill you. The storm is here to cleanse you. And I explain it in a way of like, we are this fortress here, and this storm is coming and on top of us and raining and all the stuff. And it brings these high winds and this high rain and high pressure, and you feel like you're about to get swept away. And as the storm passes, you hunker down and you do what you can do. And 2 days later, you walk out and you're like, oh, some things are here that weren't here before. Some things are not going to be the same. There was some loss here. And I think that's the other part of it is when I talk about cleansing, there's a part of us through stormy seasons that is an attachment, and it's actually not a part of us. And storms are there to break off that attachment. If it can't weather the storm with you, it's not you. And so that's what I mean when I say cleansing is like, and that's why it's a good storm. It might not feel good to lose that attachment. It might not feel good to feel that loss, but it's not for you anymore. It didn't, the storm swept it away. And I believe the storm has good intention. Maybe I'm wrong, but I do believe that the storms of life have good intentions for us.
I think you're right, because it calluses us and it teaches you a lesson maybe that you didn't know during the time period, or maybe you didn't know right after it ended. But when you reflect on it and you look back, you're like, oh, that's what that was teaching me, and you learn from those different experiences.
Or if the storm isn't there, before the storm came, you might have been complacent and not have taken action. Sometimes you need a little kick in the ass to get things going. And that's what the storm is. Like, if you feel like life is just hitting you while you're down, I think sometimes that's a sign to like get off your ass, stop playing the victim mentality. And like you said earlier, is you take responsibility and you take action. And I think like sometimes that's what the storm is there to do.
Agreed. It's the tap on the shoulder of, hey, you're meant for something, And so we can accept that messaging and understand that it might not feel good, or it might not look good. And, we might have lost some things, but in retrospect, and 6 months down the road, we're like, oh, I get it now, So it's like learning to trust in the seasons of life, learning to trust in the storms of life, learning to know that you're safe. You can find safety and fortress within those storms. And it actually is, the storm is a truth teller. It tells you what's for you and what's not for you, because it actually sweeps away what isn't. And sometimes the truth is not fun to look at, though.
What would you say is really important right now in your process for coming up with content? Are you writing every single day? Are you reading from multiple different sources? Are you listening to things, or do you X out a lot of what you see on social or what is being put in your ears and you go, internal? What is your process like? I'm curious.
I'm a very lack of process guy. I don't really listen to podcasts. I don't read books. I think a lot of what I say comes from just internal warfare, struggle, things that I need to hear. I figure out what I'm going to say usually in the sauna every day. I'm thinking, I'm reflecting, I'm trying to become aware of how I'm being and how I'm acting and so there really isn't a source. I can say, like, through time, there have been times where I'm like, I don't know what the fuck to say. And like, you go get inspired online, or that would be where my inspiration comes, is like, listening to a short, or, scrolling and finding something that you connect with, that you can then, create your own way of saying it. But a lot of the things I say and the things that really work the best is when I'm just present with myself and I'm having internal dialogue that is also helping resolve conflict and issue in me. And then as I say it to the world, people are like, oh shit, I have that same conflict. And thank you for being that voice. Like, I think that's what it is that.
Staying on your process a little bit, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like the way you do your videos seems like, okay, you set up a light, a camera, you sit down and you just talk to the camera. Same set every time. You've eliminated a lot of the friction that comes with content creation. And a lot of times, we've talked about the mindset being a limiting factor for a lot of people, but I think also there's a lot of friction that can come with the actual process of creating content, with setting up the camera and the lights. So how pivotal has it been removing that friction from your content creation process?
Extremely pivotal. To be able to, like, the camera's always up. The light's on right now. The light's set up. The chair's here. And when I feel a tug, I would say in the last 2 months, I haven't posted as much because I just have been going through it a bit, and trying to figure out some shit for myself and everything that's coming up in my life. But when I'm really in the groove of inspiration and giving back, and I feel my cup is overflowing, it's just grab the mic, put it on, and press record, and then just say it. It makes it easy because I'm not calling up Mikey and telling him to come over and bring the microphones. No, I took responsibility for that, and I bought microphones, and I bought, my grandma bought my camera, but shout out grandma. But getting the light, and there are things that I've had to evolve in. It took some time to put the wall together and hang all this shit, and but it's worth it because when you take out, you're saying, that friction, there's no excuses. Other than maybe I just need some rest. I need to rest. I feel like my cup is empty. I feel like, I think rest is a big thing as well, and not worrying about, not showing up. But I think to show up in a consistent way when you're feeling good to do that, and you're feeling inspired to do that, you're speaking out of true inspiration. Having the setup ready is, I think, pivotal for what I do.
What is coming for the brand? People are very excited to hear about it. I know you just shared with us you're building a story or a book that's coming out soon. What are these different pillars that are coming to your brand?
This is the rough draft. So we're going to drop a rough draft version, which is kind of like my edits. And it talks about this is dedicated to the part of me that cares more about perfection than progress. And so I just was fuck it, let's release a rough draft. And then later on, we're going to have a full big coffee table book that is full of art from artists all around the world that took my quotes and drew what the quote made them feel. And so I'm excited about it. But really, that's a bit down the road, but the bigger brand is Sappy and Sappy House. Sappy House was a huge risk. Like 3 months ago, we were still in our apartment and we knew we had to make a move. So like we figured it out. We broke a lease. We took out a loan and like we got a house and, you know, bought the furniture and like my wife curated it all. And then it's like, okay, podcast. So there's just been a few things that have just had to happen. So there's a podcast coming out. It's either going to drop next week or the week after. I'm waiting. I don't know. I can drop it really whenever, but the podcast is going to be really dope. And that's going to really like open up. I think people see me as very one-sided. There needs to be some evolution in my content of really showing full personality. And so that will be the podcast, which will be like a weekly drop. We're going to be doing like live calls bi-weekly and guests bi-weekly. And so guest solo. Obviously the book's coming out and probably do some clothing. So it's just one foot after another here as we figure it out. But I'm happy with what we've built thus far.
We're definitely happy to answer any questions you have about podcasting because Braden mentioned it earlier, but we've been doing this, I believe you're episode 148. We've been doing it for a little over 3 years. And I can't even count how many times we've fucked up and the mistakes that we've made. And I feel like we talked about it the other day. We were like, man, if we had known what we know now at episode 1, I can't even imagine how far along we'd be. And that goes back to exactly what we've been talking about this whole episode. So if you do have any like podcast specific questions, let us know
Give us a ring.
We've learned a ton.
I will give you a call.
This has honestly been amazing. And I feel like we could talk for another fucking 3-4 hours, but we'll leave you with one more. What advice would you give to your 18-year-old self if you could go back and bestow some wisdom upon young JB?
I'd be like, number one, like we can grow a mustache now. Number two, like it's going to play out how it's supposed to. I don't think I would want to go in there and change his path, but I would give him assurance. And I think that that's what my 48-year-old self would say to 30-year-old me right now is like, the path laid in front of you is your path. Walk that shit and do it with confidence and do it with assurance that you're on the right path, even though sometimes it's going to feel like you're not. And there's going to be seasons of darkness and there's going to be seasons of loss and there's going to be seasons of this or that. And I would just tell them, you're on the right path. And I think that is also my message for anyone listening is like, you're on the right path. Like trust your feet, like trust your soul. Like it's being pulled in the direction it's being pulled to.
So good to hear more about your story, why you're doing this, and your plans for the future. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been episode 148 of the 505 podcast. If you're still here, please drop us a comment, leave us a like, and we'll see you all next week. Peace.